Hey, shout out to all the members of our Best of US Agents team. I'm training this week for the senior games, which are going to be held in Albuquerque, New Mexico later this month. And it got to me to thinking about seniors and how I'm in a position right now that I have 8 listings valued at over $11 million, plus a neighborhood that has a potential to be worth an additional 40 lots, an additional $12 million. And how I got to this position and how I can share what I've done over the past 3 years, that's how long I've been in the business, to get you in a position to where you can have this kind of opportunity. It's all about demographics. It's all about the baby boomers and the Senior Olympics. So stay with me. I'm going to give you by the end of this video, you're going to know how you can have $22 million worth of potential listings after 3 years in the business, or maybe even quicker, because I'm going to tell you what I've learned so you don't have to learn it. So stay with me here. Okay, as I said, right now I've got 8 listings for valued at over $11 million, and then I've got this neighborhood of 40 lots that has the potential to generate about another $12 million worth of sales for me. And I've done this basically because I recognized 3 years ago that there's something going on in our country that's called the baby boomer sell-off. And that is that and between 1946 and 1964, 79 million babies were born. This was post-World War II. And they are the baby boomers. And because of something that happened on May the 6th, 1960, they're having some difficulty selling their homes right now. And what that was when the Food and Drug Administration approved the sale of the first birth control pill. As a result of that, Generation X is 25% smaller than the baby boomer generation. So now as the baby boomers started reaching 65 at the rate of 9,000 a day in 2011 and started downsizing and putting their homes on the market, there's a flood of homes. Now, the baby boomers own roughly 75% of the luxury homes. They're not having trouble selling their $200,000 and $300,000 and maybe even $400,000 homes, but because the buyer pool is smaller, and then when you add to that what happened to them, they bought their first house in the late 1990s. They bought their second house in the early 2000s. So they bought their second house at the peak of the real estate market. And then in 2008, we had the subprime crisis, which, by the way, was engineered by the baby boomers, who controlled the banks and controlled the lending institution and the regulation of lending, which could then thus created the subprime crisis, which created the real estate bubble. And the Generation Xers, if they were lucky, all they lost was the equity in their homes. If they weren't so lucky, then they also lost their home. And then if they were really unlucky, they lost their jobs. So they just got back to kind of even if they made it through the real estate bubble somewhere around 2011. And then at the same time, this is when the baby boomers started dumping their houses on the market so that they could downsize, move to the beach, get closer to their grandchildren. So you had a flood of homes come to the market. I challenge you to go to your MLS and research the number of homes from 2011 through 2019 today that have come to market in 750,000 or plus, or whatever your luxury market category is. And what you're going to find is that half of them have sold. That means that each year half of them didn't sell, and so they're building up an inventory of homes. Now that's a problem. My experience in business tells me if you can find somebody who has a problem and you can solve that problem for them, you're going to do quite well. You're going to make a lot of money helping people solve their problem. What's their problem? Let's put ourselves in their position. They're 70 years old. They own a $1 million home. It's on a big lot. It's in a gated community. It's on a golf course, 2 golf courses, 17 tennis courts, 3 pools. What was the dream of every baby boomer in 1990 when they wanted to show their peer group that they had made it, and they went and built these McMansions. So, but now, because Generation X is 25% smaller, and that's who should be buying the houses, and because they went through the subprime crisis, they just aren't selling. So that's the problem. How do you solve the problem for them? Well, it's marketing. It's all about marketing. It doesn't work anymore to just put a sign in the yard and create an MLS listing. You have to market the house to a target market. Okay, so who's the target market? The target market are doctors, lawyers, financial advisors, bankers, and entrepreneurs. So you have to market this home to them. In other words, you have to think like Ferrari, Porsche, and Lamborghini. How do I get those people aware of these houses that I want to represent and market, and how do I get them through the door and get them to take a test drive, if you will? Well, you use social media and you use video. Just like I'm communicating with you here, you need to communicate with these your target market for your houses face to face. And you have to create a desire so that they want to come and visit the house. It's truly that simple. But what isn't simple is how do you market to them? You use LinkedIn. Okay? In my book, should have had a copy of the book here to show you, but I'll post it up here. You need to read the book, and I'll tell you how to use LinkedIn Helper so that you can put your house in front of 150 LinkedIn connections a day. So you create your video. I suggest you have an 8-minute video that you house on your dedicated website, and then you have a 1-minute video that entices them to say, hey, this is the Porsche commercial. This is the Lamborghini commercial. I need to see more. And they click and they go to your website, and that's where they see the 8-minute video. And that's how you market the house. You also put that same 1-minute video into an email blast. You gather, like me, I have something like 3,800 connections on LinkedIn. I have another 3,000 connections that goes into my database. So when I do an email blast, it goes out to 6,000 people. We build awareness. Now, how do you do all that? Again, it's in my book, and I'm sharing a lot of this on my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is free stuff, folks. This is how I've gotten 11 million in 22 million, 23 million in listings in less than 3 years. I've learned how to use the tools that are available to me. That's what you need to do. Now, am I going to charge you $1,000 a month to get up to make a phone call to you and tell you to get out and knock on more doors and harass people on the phone? No, I don't believe in that. I don't want you doing it to me, and I'm not going to do it to somebody else. I'm going to use social media, but I need to know how to use it. And you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, so every time I put out a video like this with valuable information, you get the message. And then we will build a team, Best of US Agents. Go to the website, and then I will share with you the written materials I use. The snail mail letters that say, are you puzzled why your house isn't selling? This is why your house isn't selling. And then the next letter I send out that says, This is the formula that I use. This is the information I know of who your potential buyer is, and this is how I'm going to reach them. This is what you've got to do. This is what you've got to do if you want to get to where I am. And I'm willing to share it with you. Okay, what other kind of things are you going to find on my YouTube channel? You're going to find how I go and stand in front of a house that has been expired listing and speak directly to the homeowner and say, hey Jeff, if you want to sell your house, you need to contact me. And this is what I'm going to do, A, B, C, and D. And then I text directly to him with a link to that video. I'm going to show you a video on my YouTube channel where how to get connected to your local newspaper, who has an internet portal that does features on exotic homes, and you can get 40,000 people to see your video and your pictures of your home in a matter of 36 hours. These are all things that's how I've gotten to where I am. I don't want to sell homes to everybody. I want to decide who I'm going to sell to. And I create a most wanted list. It always has 100 names, 100 people that I'm putting my message in front of on a weekly basis. Because when they make the decision, I'll give you an example. I signed a listing for a $1.65 million home in Greystone on Queens Ferry. I've been dripping this guy for 3 years. When I got into the business, I went around the community and I said, the very home, I said, that's a home I want to list. It was on the market. I got my wife to come and act as if she was an interested person so I could go in and see the house. And I walked away from it and I said, if this ever expires, I'm going to work and I'm going to get it because I want to sell it, because I think it's the most beautiful home in the community of Birmingham. Well, I dripped this guy for 3 years with the letters that I just told you about, with the text message I just told you about, with letters, not postcards, that said, I just listed this house down the street from you. I just sold this house down the street from you. And I dripped him and I dripped him. And he said to me last week, he said, you're not like any other realtor in this community, are you? I said, no, I'm not. Because I will do things that other realtors can't or won't do for you. I understand social media. I show up for every showing in my house because I want to know who's in that house and who's seeing it, so that if they don't want that house, I can find another house in my portfolio of houses. You got to go after this like it's a competition, because it is. Just like this. I'm the fastest 75 to 80-year-old in the state of Alabama. I run the 50 meter, the 100 meter, the 200 meter, and sometimes I got the guts to run a 400 meter. And I'm the fastest 75 to 80-year-old. It takes work. It takes knowledge. You got to know how to get out of those starting blocks fast. And you got to know how to stretch your legs as far as you can with every step, so you take fewer steps in that 100 yards than the guy next to you. It's the same in real estate, damn it. You got to want it, you got to be willing to work for it, and you got to be willing to learn. So, subscribe, join Best of U.S. Agents, and I'll take you to the finish line. I tell you, I'll take you. We may not win every race, but we're going to qualify, and we're going to represent our state, and people are going to know who we are. We're the Purple Cow. So, I expect you to subscribe, and I expect you to be a regular visitor, and I expect you to be successful. If you're not, shut off, go away. One other thing I want to tell you. I've discovered that there's a lot of people who show up at my listings, and I know they came from Zillow because they introduced themselves to the people in the front yard. I said, how do I get in front of them? I want you to, when this is over, I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to type in these words, moving to Birmingham, Alabama. And I want you to see who dominates that. If you were moving to Birmingham, Alabama, would you Google it? Would you YouTube it? These are the kind of things I'll teach you that'll blow the socks off of every other agent in your community. Now, you got to be prepared for something. They aren't going to like you because they're accustomed to doing it their way. I'm not a popular agent in this community because I do it my way, which is different than them, and they don't like what I'm taking from them. I've got $22 million worth of listings that they used to have. They don't have them anymore. Subscribe, become one of the best of U.S. agents in the country, and you'll get rich. All right, let's do it. Running next week.